Scrutinize, scrutinize this. Tell me, why do I feel a little bit of a Trey Songz in my spirit? Maybe it's because we about to dive in.
And here we go.
They say as a man you should always get a high-paying job so that you can potentially take care of a family. But you should also make sure you have enough spare time to spend with your spouse so that they don't get lonely. If you're a father, you need to be there for and support your children. But don't try to guide them or structure them or especially discipline them in any way, or you're abusive.
We already off to the shenanigans. But you know what? I'm going to go ahead and let my boy TD Jakes come on in here and start this off.
If a man is at home all the time and he's the breadwinner, that's a bad sign. And the problem with being a father is you can never get it 100. If I give you time, we don't have money. If I get the money, you don't have me. I can't be there and earn a living at the same time. I'm limited, and I have an obligation to make sure your life is better than mine. That's part of it. Am I right? The difficult thing about being a father is that everybody wants it now. The kid wants it now. The wife wants it now. The job wants it now. The opportunity is now, because in your early years are your earning years.
This young woman eloquently put this thing together so that Pastor TD Jakes, in a clip that is probably a couple of years old now. But when I first heard it, I said, man, he put it on point, because how many times have we heard it year after year, decades for the most part, that there's only 24 hours in a day. And it's crazy that TD Jakes said what he said, because there's one thing that I've added for years before I ever heard TD Jakes speak on anything. I added all what he said, plus I added the dog. Because everybody's running to you when you come into the house. You could be on work 2 shifts. You can work your shift, another shift. You could have worked 3 shifts in these steel mills, in these factories, on these railroad jobs, any job you can think about. You lock down facilities. I've had some experience with that before, working in lockdown facilities, whether it's juvenile lockup or adult lockup, and you are asked to stay over and work another shift, and sometimes 3 shifts past your own shift. And here it is, when you come home, your family is literally looking for God. They're literally looking, and this is why I always tell individuals that I don't roll with or subscribe to the notion that a woman has to be a man's piece. I would never ask that. Not at this age, not with this mind. Maybe you'd catch me 10 years ago or something like that. I might have would have been right in that movement. But now, understanding the things that I know now digging into the scriptures, I understand more than ever, just by the illustration or the visual of a man working his own shift, let alone 2-3 shifts extra, doing everything he's got to do to provide for his family. And when he walks in from that job, he may not be walking into a place that's full of love. He may not be walking into a place that's understanding in any type of way, have a cooked meal or rubbing his feet or rubbing his back. He may not walk into that. But then when you look at a situation where men have literally walked in the door and they've been met by the dog, by their children, by the wife, and he feels that love and he understands, okay, I was tied in a mug when I walked in here. I worked all them shifts plus mine. But I've got that extra energy to give my family a little bit more, even though I've done all this working. Now I understand this is the reason why I go do what I do. And that's why at the beginning of this, I wanted to put her words to start it off and TD Jakes' words to start it off, because once you get down to a family that's broken, once a woman has, or anyone for that matter, but the majority is women, because the statistics let us know that it's in the high 70s, 75 to 80% now of women walking in courtrooms. They've chosen the master, not God, but they've chosen to include a third party in their marriage, to allowing them to have control over their marriage, because if they want out, that third party will give them out. And now enters someone telling you what you're going to do, especially as it pertains to your seed. And that man made a deal with you, an agreement with you, And he chose you to carry his seed. And now you're going to use an outside entity to help control that man through his seed. So this is why her last part makes so much sense. That by the time that man has done all this sacrificing his life, he can literally not make it home. He's literally giving his life to his family to provide and protect and everything else. The most important part is supposed to be that Christ-like part, the whole purpose for which marriage is. When Christ chose his disciples and he was constantly teaching them every day, that's the most important part for a father. And when you go get divorces and break these homes, and you dare try to use a trump card and say, I'm the guardian, and you try to do whatever you want and everything runs through you, and you never speak to that father, you never let him run his house, 9 times out of 10, you didn't let that man do what he needed to do when you were together. And you don't want to have to admit that that's a big part of why it ain't together. Because you might have ran to the divorce court and got what you wanted, but you got what you wanted because you want control. You're a narcissist. You wanted to do what you want. When really, in reality, the easy way out that you think the court gave you, according to God, you're still supposed to be covered by that man. You still ain't got away from that man setting the structure and the order for his seed. He's always a father, whether he put a seed in you or not. But you're only a mother because he chose you and you agreed. Now the agreement must continue. Everything that goes on with his child or children, you ought to be running past him. But in this day and time, this wicked, wicked world, I like to focus on that last part she said about a man being considered abusive. And I'm going to add to it, using the courts to manipulate him out of the house so the structure cannot be put there. So you taking Christ out of the house, because we're talking about real marriage versus the fraud marriage or the Antichrist version that's ran through the family courts. Marriage by the Bible, that man is supposed to always be in a position to cover, protect, and teach his seed. You want to go. If you want to be Judas, go. But his children are supposed to have his impression and his imprint. And so when you take him out of the equation, you can't then be talking about be a father and this, that, other, based off the vision in your mind or the picture in your head. Because now you want to manipulate and control this man to answer to your whims when he's really supposed to be answering to God. And then y'all wonder why these fathers and these children go this way. And then when the children grow up and they actually get a revelation, they start to make that trajectory back to each other. And it starts to be revealed who the devil was in the situation. You're not winning anything. And at best, or even at worst, you're causing those children to go down a path that they never should have went, because you don't really have anything to teach them like their father would have something to teach them. And the direct correlation between him and God, you have breached it. And now every time that child has an issue at school, every time that child goes through something in life, and you want to bring it to the father now all of a sudden, when you were the one who had the most imprint on those children because you're in that home with them. Now you want that man to unravel and rescue and play Superman for you and some type of avenger because of the atmosphere and chaotic surroundings you created that he's no longer in, and that's not his responsibility.
You're expected to be masculine in order to be attractive. But you should also get in touch with your sensitive side. But not enough to cry, because that makes you look weak. Women are allowed to hit you, but you should never hit them back.
Yes, so now we get to this other part where, of course, women are such experts on the masculinity of a man. And they tell themselves, or they even blurt out to you and tell you what's weak or what's strong. And you're supposed to be like a robot, because when you actually open up to them, now all of a sudden you're weak because you cried. And that's why Micah chapter 7, and I believe verse 5 or 6 talks about how you keep the doors of your mouth closed when a woman's laying in your bosom. In other words, it's talking about pillow talk. It's talking about properly evaluating, because it further goes down and says that your enemies will be the ones in your own house, or the ones closest to you, the ones who you call family, the ones who you draw close to your bosom that way. And so you got to be careful. You got to be, as a man, the first thing you need to do is learn how to properly evaluate, as my bro Will Craven likes to say, because you are the interviewer and you're trying to add an addition to your company, to your throne, to your kingdom. And so when it comes down to it, masculinity is not in your height. It's not in your looks. It's not in you being some holy thug or anything like that. All these silly little things that people say. Masculinity is going to be in your teaching. That's why that's under the most attack. That's why I love what she said in the statement before we even get to this. When she said that you're just supposed to be a provider and somebody to just throw muscle around and act all hard. But when it's time to actually give structure to your children, bring order and leadership to your children, the way Christ did to his disciples, his children, his bride, oh, it's a problem. It's a problem then. But what the reality of it is that you're exposing the lack of true femininity in that woman. Take a man's masculinity away, his true masculinity, which is his teaching, and take away his opportunity to be masculine and teach by taking away his children and the structure of that home and the order of things, and you will find that you will not have a Christ-like man. Or you're going to have somebody who is Christ-like and he's not going to fight with you. He's not going to go back and forth with you. He's not going to wrestle with you. He's going to let you bump your head and have your way and create your chaotic atmosphere, because he understands, again, it's not his responsibility to fix that at all. And so when it comes down to it, as a man, you're not a robot. You cry when you need to. You show emotion as you need to. Of course, we don't lead with that, with our emotion. But at the end of the day, a lot of things that need to be taught to these children are the wrong things. Especially, again, that last part, how a woman can do whatever she wants to a man, touch him. They know it to the T. And trust and believe, by the time they've chosen to be with you, is because they know the law to the T. And they understand that no one was taught growing up, don't hit a person. Don't touch a person. Don't go out here starting stuff and popping stuff off and bullying people. No, it's just taught as a man, don't you ever hit a woman. Don't you ever do this. And now you got goofies out here who will say, oh, arguing all the time, that's just a relationship. Going through this, oh, that's just a relationship. And they're opening up doors for you to tolerate whatever, when in reality, your presence in the house means you set the rules of engagement and what to tolerate and not tolerate. And if we had a community of those type of men, those Christ men, that would be true masculinity.
If you even want the chance of having a woman, be prepared to take her out to a fancy dinner in a fancy car and get her flowers and drinks and all of that. But don't expect or ask for anything in return, because then you're pushy. Remember, you have to dote on the girl in every possible way. But in the end, it's her decision as to whether or not all of your time and energy was worth her giving you anything in return.
Yes. The indoctrination of the Disneyland fantasy. The indoctrination of queen, diva, goddess. Am I missing anything? Oh man, you're supposed to give all these extravagant experiences and flew them out and fly them out and do all kind of stuff, man. I hear so much crazy things that a man is supposed to do, and then you wonder why, when these men see how unserious you are, how they catch on to the fact that you could be trying to get this experience from them today, trying to get that experience from Johnny tomorrow, and Mike and Todd and everybody else, and you wonder why they want to put sex on the table. Because you're out here playing a game called dating, when traditionally it would be courtship. If you had a father in place to help you vet these men, and there's so many other things that I could talk about that I don't want to put all in this video. But when it comes down to it, by the time you're dealing with a woman in any capacity, going out, seeing her, I like to say going steady. We don't use that term anymore, because at the end of the day, when you decide to have like I said, the man is responsible to initiating the rules of engagement and putting them in place. You have this opportunity to set in motion respect. You have this opportunity to set in motion honor. And so when it comes down to it, this is the time that they calling dating, where you're supposed to be setting the honor and respect barometers so that this woman understands what you are not going to tolerate and what you're not going to go for. And I'll tell you this, it shouldn't be about trying to get in the draws. It shouldn't be about none of that. You should absolutely be trying to study this person, a la the term going steady. Because if it's really going to be serious, you're going to meet families and all this other different stuff. You need to absolutely know who you're dealing with, because as I've learned over the years is that the same person, let's just say it goes to marriage, the same person who laid all these fantasies before you, they're going to lay fantasies before you in marriage. The way that you went through with them in dating, they're going to try to go through it with you in marriage. And if there was any unreasonable requests and all that different type of stuff, 9 times out of 10, you got the precursor to that. You got the first signs of that, and the red flags and everything, but you've let it go way, way past dating, got sex and everything else. You didn't understand that the dating in the first place was a distraction to take you away from setting order, setting structure, setting respect, making sure that you evaluate it. You missed all of that. And now you've had children and all this other different stuff, and you're in there. Which goes to this next part.
And if she leaves you after a 6-year-long relationship, remember, she's just doing what's best for her. But if you leave her after 6 years, you're a scumbag who obviously never cared.
Yep, living her best life, finding her happiness, trying to have some self-love. Nah, ma'am, you just know the law. You understand what real marriage is, the marriage that you choose to follow. And it ain't the godly one. It ain't the scriptures. You're going to follow the master, as the scriptures say. You can't have two masters. You're going to love one, you're going to hate the other. You're going to despise one, you're going to be devout to the other one. You cannot serve God and money. In other words, so who's getting more money than the family courts? Who's making more money off of anybody, especially the so-called black families and their brokenness? Who's making more money and capitalizing more off the taxes that come from that than the family courts, the states, and the government? So when it comes down to it, the woman already has in the back of her mind, regardless of all that mess that's being preached in church, she ain't thinking about that church stuff. She ain't thinking about that God stuff. She is not yoked properly. Because when it comes down to finding, when it comes down to breaking that thing up, ain't no talking with pastor, ain't no seeking God, because they ain't do no seeking before. So they going to go right to the master that they've always believed in more. It was more tangible. He gonna give me a bag. He gonna give me a reward. He gonna give me a severance package and child support. Yes, I got something in my back pocket because I know you really the prize, man. I know your children really the bag, man. And she gonna cash in. And that's why she would do all this for herself. She ain't thinking about a child. She ain't thinking about you. She gonna go make the most selfish decision that she can make. But if you hold tight, you'll get your blessing in the long run, brother, because you learned what you needed to learn, and you grew up, whether you know it or not. Hopefully you grew up, and you can now focus and lock in on your seed, hopefully, and you can save that so that you can continue to build upon the purpose that God has for you in the first place without that distraction being in the way.
Make sure you're intelligent, or women are going to look down on you. But women are always right, so they're going to look down on you anyway. Plus, if you're really smart, they're going to see you as arrogant. And be confident, because confidence is sexy. But don't be cocky.
So when it comes down to it, yeah, they're going to try to, as I like to say, the representative or the interviewer, they're going to try to give the best interview they can give so they can, get whatever incentives or benefits that are attached to you. This is where being able to evaluate really comes in handy, because you got to understand who's gassing you up and who's trying to distract you and who's trying to make you think that we live in a day and time now where there are women out here especially that are bragging about how they're not qualified, but they know how to give an interview that will have them in a position that they're not even qualified for. And what greater position to be in and not qualified for than to be a wife, than to be in a marriage. And you're just trying to get every little thing that you can get and reap from it, knowing that you're hurting somebody's life, especially yours. And so more often than not, that man usually gets smarter when he goes through that downfall. And now, oh, you're so you know, of course, like she said, they're right about everything. It doesn't matter. But they claim they want to have intelligent conversation. They claim they want you to be smart and a leader and all that. And then when you're confident in yourself because you have sharpened in your purpose, oh, now you're cocky and all this different stuff. When in reality, they're intimidated by your glow. They're intimidated by what you're walking in because they know that it means they have to step up. If you are on point, as long as you are on point and moving in Christ like you should, men, she's got to step up. And as I've always called out to people, you know more often than not, no matter what a woman is saying out her mouth, be who you're supposed to be and watch how it draws them closer to you or pushes them away because they're not mature enough to step up. So when it comes down to it, man, you gotta listen for little keywords and little triggers. And when I was listening to this woman speak, oh man, radar was all over the place.
Sleep with too many women and you're just a man whore who's afraid of commitment. But don't sleep with enough women and you're less desirable because of your inexperience. Be independent, but do what you're told. Have high standards, but not high expectations. Accept women at their best and their worst. But change every negative aspect of yourself in order to prove your love.
Of course, women know everything. Of course, you don't know nothing. Because it has to go apart. It has to become a part of what I always talk about, which is the little sister spirit. And when a woman is not qualified to be a wife and the things that she should be, and she's not clearly growing up, she's going to stay the little sister. So her actions are going to be like the little sister. She's going to throw tantrums. She's going to want her way. She's going to want to hear yes all the time. And when you think about the life that she had before you, I can do whatever I want. And so she proves that. She goes out and has hot girl summers. Her girls or her girlfriends, they are the top priority. And trust and believe, if she gets pregnant by you and have a child, there are going to be a couple of things that shift. And you're going to go lower and lower on the totem pole. Because her girls are already her top priority, especially herself. And now her child or children are top priority. You continue to just fizzle on out because you should never honor the totem pole. You should never honor the umbrella properly, meaning honor God, your husband, your father. You should never do that. It's always going to be everything that gives them what they want. So before you, it was hot girl summers. It was playing with dildos. It was playing with roses. And like I'll tell you guys all the time. And of course, we can't forget playing with multiple men and hopping on multiple rods. So if that vagina, if that coochie is like memory foam, she's taking the form of every single dick. She's taking the form of every single dildo, every single rose, and she's got all those impressions and alterations on her. So by the time she gets to you, because this is where they don't understand it, they can't compute in their head that their makeup is different than us. Your memory foam and your vagina is taking the form of everything that you put up in your behind. It's shaped and shifted your spirit. It's altered you in more ways than you could ever imagine. And you've given more first to everybody than your eventual husband could ever get. And you don't understand the role. You don't understand the proper position of husbandman. You don't understand it. So you don't realize that he shapes and forms and structures the house and the family. Well, you've got everybody else's shape and structure on you. You're giving this man more work. You're giving him more problems to have to cultivate and fix. And you just don't get it. So save all the man whore and this, that, and the other, because all he doing is catching up to you. You claim y'all outnumber us by millions. Women outnumber men in this world. And you're out there doing whatever you want to. You want all these different dudes to give you all these different experiences. And then by the time you even do get to the bedroom, if you're given that, you want an experience from them there too. You want something to talk about and a thrill to talk about every direction you go. This man is just supposed to be some slave to you. He's supposed to be some indentured servant. And I'm going to tell you, if you're a man that's ever went through the court system with a woman, oh, you're going to find out how important she feels that you are not. So the sooner you evaluate, the sooner you understand who you're dealing with, the better. Because everything that this Caucasian woman just said just lets you know, this is not just a black man thing. This is not just in the black community. This is the world. This is the world. So y'all better get on and understand what's most important. And what's most important is you. Iron sharpens iron. Get your purpose sharpened so that you are carrying out your proper God-given created purpose for your life. And every addition, they're not going to play tug of war with you. They just going to submit to the classroom, submit to the curriculum. They're going to do what the disciples did, and that's submit to the master. Be a master. Do what it takes to be sharpened and be a master by the time the right one, comes into your life worth choosing. Because all the things that she said are absolutely contradictions that men go through. But they can be dealt with and they can be fixed if you're properly evaluating and understand what you see. I'm out. Bye.
You're a man, you should have all the answers. But if you have all the answers, you're a narcissist.
Lie.
Yep, and those bras can't be talking about us. They must be talking about themselves. I'm a weak. You a fool.